Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another news brief from the Thistledown Media Room, where we lend the news the gravity it deserves. I am your host, Mr. Thistlebloom, and this is my perspective. Today, dear listener, we turn our eyes to the purple mountain majesties of Lakewood, Colorado, where Jack Phillips, the proprietor of the Christian-owned Confections Depot Masterpiece Cake Shop, finds himself once again embroiled in legal proceedings brought against him by the Colorado Civil Rights Commission a mere 6 months after the United States Supreme Court ruled in his favor concerning his refusal to violate his personal beliefs in order to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding in 2016. The Supreme Court, citing First Amendment law, ruled that Mr. Phillips was within his rights to refuse a specific commission on the grounds that it would force him to act against his constitutionally protected religious beliefs. As this is a settled case, we will not address the particulars, though we will address the legal precedent it sets. Now one might ask, what has Mr. Phillips done this time to get himself slapped with yet another discrimination case leveled by the CCRC? Well, dear listener, if you've been paying attention to the news of late, you know that Mr. Phillips has once again refused a specific commission which would force him to violate his deeply held religious beliefs. A customer of Masterpiece Cake Shop by the name of Autumn Scardinia commissioned a cake from the bakery to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of their gender reassignment surgery, which happened to fall on Scardinia's birthday. Scardinia claims that the cake was merely a birthday cake, but concedes that the desired cake design, pink on the inside with blue icing, was meant to signify a celebration of the 1-year anniversary of the aforementioned surgery. Scardinia sought legal aid from the CCRC and has filed a discrimination suit against Mr. Phillips for his refusal to bake the cake in question. In response to the suit, Mr. Phillips has filed his own suit with the Supreme Court, saying that the state of Colorado refuses to respect his religious beliefs. Jim Campbell, an attorney for Alliance Defending Freedom, working the case, stated, "At this point, Mr. Phillips is just a guy who is trying to get back to life." Jim, We here in the media room sympathize. Jack has spent 2 years at this point defending his right to not be forced to violate his personal beliefs, which prohibit him from participation in or performing work to the aim of celebrating homosexuality. Phillips writes in his countersuit that he does not want to promote the idea that a person's sex is anything other than an immutable, God-given biological reality. Unfortunately, not all of God's children deal in reality or recognize it as a valid argument. Decades of scientific research mean nothing to the members of the cult of personal feelings. Scardinia went to the CCRC in August, alleging discrimination on the part of the bakery on the basis of gender identity, reports Think Progress. The woman on the phone did not object to my request for a birthday cake until I told her I was celebrating my transition from male to female. I believe that other people who request birthday cakes get to select the color and theme of the cake, Scardinia maintains in the case filing. In June of this year, the United States Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in favor of Masterpiece Cake Shop concerning the previous suit brought against the private business, finding that the state of Colorado violated religious freedom protections by ruling that Phillips had participated in discrimination against plaintiffs David Mullins and Charlie Craig, a decision heavily criticized by members of the LGBTQ plus community. Despite the criticism, however, this decision of the court is a standing ruling and sets the legal precedent that no governmental authority has the right to force any private citizen or private business to accept specific commissions which might violate the personal or religious beliefs of the business owner or independent contractor in question. Clearly, the CCRC is banking on the sympathetic leanings of new Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and his desire to appear LGBT-friendly after his own inflammatory hearings concerning allegations of sexual assault leading up to his confirmation to the Supreme Court to swing the judgment in their favor. It is my opinion that the CCRC wishes to use Kavanaugh's wish to appear centrist to force a vote from him in favor of violating Phillips' constitutionally protected right to freedom of religion. I believe that it is the aim of the CCRC to undermine the Constitution and the rule of law itself, with these proceedings, as a ruling against Phillips would directly contradict the Supreme Court's previous ruling and call into question the validity of the First Amendment itself, which could possibly lead to further rulings which would nullify the concept of freedom of speech and religion in the United States going forward. This has been a Thistledown News Brief. Thank you, dear listener, for your consideration. If you enjoyed this content, please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel for more news briefs of appropriate gravity.